Hey guys, hope you guys are all doing well. First training day back after Street Lifting Nationals. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I am really happy with how that day turned out. It was a goal of mine during training with Training Form to hit 200 pounds on the chin-up. And frankly, the last 4 weeks going into the comp, I was not super confident. I felt like 190 was there, but the fact that I hit 201 just goes to show you guys the importance of proper tapering and the super compensation effect for a competition. For you guys not familiar with what that means, that is the fact that when we are training, we are both introducing a stimulus and fatigue. How important fatigue is going to be dependent on the person and their goals. But fatigue is going to be your frankly, you can think of it like your overall tiredness, right? If you train hard and heavy and you go balls to the wall, high volume, like the most intense thing in the world, you're going to get a lot of stimulus, but you're going to create a lot of fatigue. So when you go in and train the next week, your strength is just not going to be there because it's masked by this fatigue. So a lot of times during competition prep, when you're going into the comp, you create a lot of fatigue with the heavy lifts you're doing, the frequency of the training, the intensity of which you're training at, and also just the fact that you've been prepping for a competition for, past 8-12 weeks. Create this fatigue. During the last week, we want to drop the intensity, we drop the volume. There's different ways you can taper, but that's called the tapering. We drop this fatigue, the stimulus is still there, and we get our body super compensates. And we're stronger, our baseline is stronger than what it maybe normally is. And that's what a taper does, and then we get the super compensation effect for the meet day, and typically you're stronger on that meet day. Now, different people react differently, different coaches have different setups of what they're trying to do. It kind of comes down to what you like and what your coach is, what the system is of itself. Now, I did mention the fact that, hey, maybe fatigue is not that important to some people. These people are going to be people who are maybe not competing. Maybe they just need to establish a daily habit of exercise. Sometimes they're going to be a little bit more tired. Sometimes they're going to be a little stronger. Right? That's kind of what I want to get to here in my next point. I had someone reach out to me looking for coaching. I'm really hopeful that I'm actually able to work with him. But he is ex-military, going into the police force, and he wrestles, and he's training for the police force. So that's a very physically demanding job. Not only is it very physically demanding, but being a cop is probably one of the hardest jobs there is on the planet, and it's very mentally taxing as well. All of that is a stress. All of that is going to add stress to your life and to the training itself. And that stress we can also think of as fatigue. So if you're in a situation like that, or if you're in a situation where sleep is just not that great, so maybe you're a shift worker, or maybe you're a new parent or something like that, does that mean we just stop training, we stop trying to hit PRs, we stop trying to be a freak of nature? Absolutely not. But we do have to be more in tune with our body, and we do have to really make sure think of yourself as a high-performing athlete. That's the best way to think about it. These guys, you see these YouTube clips, and you see UFC fighters or powerlifters or strongmen that talk about, they go so hard, they're working so hard, and oh shit, this hurts, it doesn't matter, kind of thing. Yeah, in prep for a competition, if your elbow is hurting, but you still have to go for a world record, you're not going to really give a shit about your elbow. But outside of competition, that's where those high-performing athletes are actually really paying attention to their body, really taking care of their body. So if you are a shift worker, if you're a you do manual labor, if you're a cop, a fireman, a nurse, these types of jobs, we can't be in competition prep mode all the time. It's just not going to work. And that's almost like what you're doing day to day on the job. So we have to be smart with the training. We have to make sure that we are managing the fatigue. Okay, so how do we manage the fatigue? One, we have to manage our ways of progressive overloading. What is that? Load, volume, sets of reps, frequency, maybe time as well if you're doing some density training or giant sets like Will Rattel talks about. All these things are just factors that we can manipulate to make sure that we're progressing on our way. But overall, this is what I would say. It is okay to have times in your training and in your life to be under a lot of stress and under a lot of fatigue for a short period of time. Maybe it's a few weeks, maybe it's a couple months or something like that. One, make sure we're paying attention to our strength levels and how we feel when we are training. When we are training, we want to try our best to feel as good as possible. So for instance, the couple cops I work with now, this one in particular, he used to be like, all right, just got off his night shift, I'm gonna go straight into the gym and start training. He'd go in the gym, his strength was meh, he would end up hurting himself. Where it probably would have been better is like, dude, go sleep. And this is what he does now. He'll sleep, he'll get his rest, and then he wakes up, feels a little bit more refreshed, and then he goes and hits his training, okay? So, if you're a type of person doing that, or if you're a college athlete, you have your collegiate sports, and you want to train as well, be a freak, it's all important to keep in mind, okay, how do I feel? Where's my fatigue level management? If you're the type of person who's a very high fatiguing job and the stress is building up, we still need to train, but maybe we manipulate where we drop the volume a lot, or we manipulate where we drop the intensity and we can push the volume on. So just a couple things to keep in mind when you're making that program, or you don't have to think about it at all. You can just work with me, tankstrengthcoaching.com. Okay. Now, today we are going to go and hit our first session of prep for nationals, squats. Unfortunately, I was being a little bit of a dingbat, and I was doing broad jumps, something I normally do, but I decided to take my shoes off for I don't know why, and my feet were sweaty, and I hit the ground and I slid. In order to catch myself, I put a lot of stress and tension into my knee, and I did hear like a little, I don't want to say pop, but basically like a little crack or something like that. I had very bad patella tendonitis for some years, and I was really scared, and I still am scared going into this session, how my knee is going to feel. But over the past week, I did pay attention to my knee, and couple things I wanted to take away this past week going into the session that I wanted to pay attention to. One is kind of how I talked to myself and how I talked about this situation. One of the big things I noticed when my knee finally started to feel better is I actually stopped giving a shit how my knee felt, and I just worked out regardless, and I did more activity, and it started feeling better. Two, and this is kind of the opposite, is actually listening to my knee. Immediately after the jump, I felt that tension. My knee got really, really sore. I could not bend down without pretty bad pain. But the next day I went in, I did perform some isometrics, I got some repetitions in, got some blood flow going. Okay, it felt better and better. And then I realized, okay, listen, I don't know if this extra volume right after the injury is going to necessarily make my knee feel better. So I kind of just rested it through the holidays. We just had Thanksgiving here. And then yesterday, I performed very light, very, very light, like 25% intensity hill sprints. That actually made my knee feel the best. And I think what it is just getting my body back into the swing of things after I gave it time to heal. And showing my body like, actually your knee is very, very strong. So when you're coming back from the big takeaway here is when you're coming back from injury, it's important that you have to listen to yourself. You can't completely ignore things, but you have to be careful of being neurotic or catastrophizing things, and realizing that you are stronger and more capable than what you might perceive yourself as, and work through it. All right, let's get into the session. Start getting ready here for just warming up for the knee before the squats. Now my coach has me doing vertical jumps, which might feel comfortable, we'll see. I'm actually gonna do some weighted sprints, so I'm gonna push the sled after I do a lot of body weight squats. I think that will probably be best for the knee. Now, I will be squatting with knee sleeves on, which I haven't done for weeks. Like, basically, after my meet, I have not squatted with these. So, we'll see how it goes today. Hopefully it gives me just some warmth, a little bit of compression at the bottom. I'm gonna have it under my sweatpants. I just messed this up. I'm gonna have it under my sweatpants. As far as the knee goes, part of making the joints feel good is actually just being really warm. So I've liked sweating quite a bit before my top sets on all my lifts, including bench. I think just the excitement, the nerves, and like moving fast during the warm-up can be beneficial. Makes my knee feel better. I kind of have a lofty goal, but we'll see. You know, I have to be smart. If the goal is there, I'll hit it. But if it's going to be like, we're risking making this longer than it needs to be, then we shall not push. We got to be smart. The goal is the competition. That's when I need to be my best, not in the first week of training. With all that being said, based on how my knee's been feeling the last couple days, feeling excited. I remember this one video with Ed Cohen. This is icy hot. With Ed Cohen, he's like, oh yeah, we'll see how my deadlifts feel. I tweaked my back a few days ago, and then he like pulls 900 pounds for reps. And you know, hopefully I have one of those days today. If I don't, it is what it is. But icy hot, these menthol, all this stuff is just for comfort. But again, there's also just that little bit of in your back of your head kind of thing. You know, it's like, okay, icy hot, this makes my knee feel better, then I feel better, and I'm going to be able to work out. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these injuries, a lot of chronic injuries, it's not in your head, but psychology has a huge part to play. One of the most important things about dealing with chronic injuries is one, like, stop expecting it. That's just injuries in general. Even if you're coming back from surgery or whatnot, you can really tell the difference between a championship mindset and your run-of-the-mill mindset. If you come back from a big injury, are you still attacking your workouts? Are you still getting after it? If you go and hesitate, you will at first. That's natural. Expect it. It's okay. You're going to be hesitant at first, but you have to train it out of your body. You have to train that weakness out of your mindset. At the end of the day, the mind, the psychology is probably the most important aspect. My coach told me once, he's like, listen, everybody at the top has genetics. Everybody at the top is working hard. Everybody, if you're smart, everybody at the top is recovering what they need to. It comes down to this right there, right between your ears. Okay, how do you talk to yourself? How do you approach difficulties? What do you do? What do you care about? Especially in the powerlifting game, the strength game. You know, all sports, you know, these guys are putting 10 plus years in and all that stuff. But there's like that guy on the Eagles, I forgot his name, but he didn't play a lick of football. And he's huge. He starts, the first time he played football, he was playing professional football. He was playing Australian rugby beforehand. He comes in and he plays. Some people are gifted like that. There's maybe one or two lifters are gifted like that. But the top of the top, those guys stay in the longest. Those guys just overcome the stupid nonsense that you have to overcome that makes most people quit. Those guys don't get burnt out. So, yeah, do you have the genetics maybe? A lot of people actually do have pretty good genetics and they don't do anything with it. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that. Like, just unbelievable genetics. And maybe because it was too easy in the beginning, they stop. But it's the guys who can just keep going. Keep going. Maybe you will be world champion, maybe you won't. That's difficult. But I'll tell you one thing, you're going to accomplish more than you ever thought you could have. You're going to lift more than you ever thought you could have. That's what matters. So do you got the mindset or not? Are you going to let something stand in your way or not? Be smart. You know, make a plan, but once you make that plan, fucking go, dude.
Go. You make the plan. You have the objective. You make the plan. And, you know, the plan is there to guide you. You might get knocked off course once in a while, something like that, but it's there to guide you. All right, lastly, you're gonna see me wear this nose strip. I wore it at USA Street Lifting. I'll be honest with you guys, I thought this shit was corny as hell when I saw people wearing it in the gym. I do not have a great nose. I've had surgery for a deviated septum, and it still didn't do anything. Really, during the night, this is a huge lifesaver because you can hear that. It's all constricted up there, maybe allergies or whatnot. But it's like, oh, I've never really needed this before with lifting until I got, I never needed this before with lifting, but recently I've been kind of getting dizzy, and that's not good. And I realize it's partially due because I'm restricting my airflow. Like, imagine just breathing through a little straw. You're not getting a lot of airflow in there. It's gonna make you dizzy because you don't got the oxygen needed to keep you fresh. So based on all that, it's like, listen, I'm not married to any of my ideas. I might call something silly one day. The next day, if I find use for it, I'm going to do it. Sorry, maybe I'm a hypocrite. Sorry, I changed my ideas. So anyways, I will be using a brush strip. That's one thing that you'll notice. The other thing you'll notice, I'm wearing wired earphones. It's connected to this thing called a Mighty. It's on Amazon. It's like $100, but I don't know if you guys remember those iPod Nanos. Those iPod Nanos, they're like this little brick thing that you pre-downloaded music on, all that stuff. I'm tired of connecting the music to the phone, setting up I wanted something separate from my phone that I used to film. And I also wanted something that, you know, I couldn't just go and wander through like, oh, this song's good, this song's good. So you download playlists from your Spotify onto the Mighty, and you have to re-upload it every 30 days. But you need Spotify Premium, you need this Mighty, and so far I've been enjoying it, but this is gonna be my first real intense workout with this guy. I'll let you know how it goes. All right, guys, we are prepping for another powerlifting competition. And today I'm gonna go for a rep PR with 705 on the bar. Now, I have my wonderful, beautiful girlfriend spotting me. And you might be thinking, oh my God, Tank, she's too small. She's not tall enough. What's she gonna do? She is extra motivation. For if I do not get this, if I do not get 5 reps on 705, I have to drop the bar. The only love in my life dies. All right? Let's get it. Come on! Shut the yes, come on! Yeah. Yep. Come on, baby. Let's go. Good. I'm gonna stop there though. All right. Overall, pretty happy with that. I knew 705 for 5 was there. Honestly, I feel like I could probably gotten 2 more. Depth on video doesn't look great, but I'm getting my belt below my hip line. So I wonder from the side, or if the angle of the camera was up a little bit more, probably be a little bit more favorable. Regardless, I'm happy with that, especially going into today, where Monday my knee was killing me. Today wasn't too bad. I can tell it's slightly irritated after that set with the repetitions. And technically, I'd have 3 more sets to do. I would have another set of 5, because again, that was probably like an 8 I think I probably could do 10 to 15 more pounds for a set of 5 if I was healthy. And then pause back off squats. But if I did all that, I think I would just put my knee further back. So again, disappointed that I'm not able to finish the rest of the workout out with squats, because I do love squatting. But we gotta be smart and focus on recovering this knee, because the knee doesn't need to go now. The knee doesn't need to be the best now. It needs to be the best before going into the meet. So it would be better if we rest and get this better. So again, happy I was even able to do this based on body weight squatting being. I don't like the idea of pain, like a 10 out of 10 pain, because I've been in more pain. But as far as what I'm capable of doing, where my knee was at Monday after that idiotic jump, let's say that was 7, 8. Basically, let's rate it out of can I squat heavy or can I not squat heavy. That was a 10 out of 10. I cannot squat heavy on Monday. And today, I hit a PR with 705 for 5 on the low bar back squat, after not low barring in months. So that tells me everything's headed in the right direction. The knee is going to be fine. I think maybe next week I might have to do only a single set of squats. Maybe I'll be able to do some back offs. But I think after this block, I should be good back to normal. So again, that's all very good. All right, let's take these knee sleeves off. For you guys wondering what I'm sniffing beforehand, some of you guys are powerlifters, some of you guys are not. They are ammonia salts. So back in the Victorian era, ammonia salts are used for a lot of stuff, but back in the Victorian era, ladies would wear their corsets so tight that sometimes they would pass out, and they would carry some salts with them so people could wake them up if they passed out. It's crazy how stupid humans are. They're so smart and intelligent, but also so crazy at the same time. So that's what I'm sniffing beforehand. Honestly, I did not get as intense of a whiff as I've gotten in the past. In the past, I've gone like really big in there. I'm like choking or burping because of how intense it is. But today, I have stopped. As I've gotten older, and I think everybody kind of goes through this, if you stick with the game long enough, you stop putting so much focus and extra attention on things that don't really matter, and you put more of your attention and focus on the things that do really matter. So although it's cool and exciting to get a big whiff and like, whoa, and all that, it's not necessarily gonna help you squat more weight. If that's what you need to squat more weight, by all means do so. But I just am going to take the whiff in what I need, right? To clear my sinuses up, to kind of get focused and ready to go. That goes same with like caffeine intake and pre-workouts and stuff. I don't really use pre-workouts, but I have a few cups of coffee. That's what I notice I get like really good stimulus from. That's all I'm going to do. People who take 400 milligrams of caffeine, the only reason you're taking that much is you build up such a tolerance. Take a week, drop your tolerance, especially during a deload week, and then build up again from there. Although it's cool to be like, oh shit, I'm double scooping, I'm training hard off no sleep. Again, sometimes you might need that, but a lot of people don't. And chances are, if you're like, oh yeah, I need that, you probably don't. It's tough to make these videos, and there's some advice I heard from some guy. He's like, you can't really speak in absolutes. Technically, you can't speak in absolutes because there's always an exception for everybody. But that's what people need. People need absolutes, especially if you're just beginning, you're just starting off. So if you found your groove, you're probably just watching this maybe for some of the more highly intelligent stuff I'm saying, or like more technical stuff I'm saying. But if you're like new and you're just kind of getting into working out, maybe first 2-3 years or even up to like 5 years and still kind of finding your flow of things, those people, you need to speak in absolutes too. And chances are you're just doing too much shit that doesn't matter. Okay. But sometimes, especially with most people, it's actually better to do a little too much than. Again, look, now I'm providing exceptions. Doing the same thing I just said, probably not a good idea to do. Okay. So, again, I'm supposed to do 2 more sets of squats. I'm supposed to do backward sled drags, all this stuff. I have a feeling it's going to irritate my knee more than help it. And the focus and the priority right now is training to what I can do, but making sure I don't bother my knee more. That's being smart. So instead of backward sled drags, I'm doing leg extensions. I feel like I feel better. Those feel better. And I'm skipping the back off sets. I didn't do the vertical jumps. Again, frustrated with not being able to be perfect today, but we'll be back. We'll be working hard. Just means I can put more focus, time, and attention to my bench, which I really want to increase. All right, guys, finishing up the workout. I think overall, pretty happy given the circumstances with the knee and everything. Unfortunately, though, when I was unracking my squat bar, you can tell in the video I have the J hooks in. This way I can get my hands out nice and wide. And when I do that, typically it's fine if I unrack 2 plates at a time. This time I had 2 plates on one side, 1 plate on one side, the other side. So I unracked the 2 plates, and maybe the bar was shifted over, so it started to fall on where all my stuff was. So I quickly put down the plates in order to catch the bar. I caught the bar and moved over, but when I was putting down the plates, I pinched my knuckle pretty bad. You can see this blood blister. Yeah, it's pretty big. But luckily, funny enough, when I was there, a doctor she was just working out. A friend of mine, she actually she removed my nail. I busted up my nail and the nail was falling off. She went in there, she ripped off the nail, and she did it she had numbed it all up, and then she ripped it off, all free of charge. So very, very happy. Anyway, she was there, and she was like, "Hey, listen, I'm keep beating my hands. I got this blood blister." I was like, "Can you drain it for me?" She's like, "Oh, I can give you a needle. You can do it yourself. Just make sure you wipe it down." This is ethyl alcohol, so it's still hand sanitizing. Ethyl alcohol is what you find in drinks. It's a little bit more, I guess. I don't know if it's more safe, but I guess if it went in my mouth, it would be fine compared to isopropyl. Anyways, it's still alcohol, so this will disinfect. And now I have to use this needle. Whoa, goddamn, dude! Look at this freaking gauge of that thing. Let's see if we can drain this out. She said, "Be careful, don't go in too far, just enough where you get a little bit of blood." Look at that, guys. Balloon up. As you can tell, I don't know how to use this. All right, there we go. So now, okay, I guess I just poked it. Oop. Drain this sucker out. I'll just let it kind of drain out and wash my hands afterwards. Anyways, well, that's the end of the squat workout. Overall, like I said, pretty happy that my knee felt good enough to PR on squats. Depth, honestly, the depth wasn't the depth is where my depth normally is. And it's honestly deep enough. It's hip crease below the top of the knee. Doesn't look that way really from the angle I gave you. But my belt is literally, I start my belt up here, now it's between my thighs. So it's really deep, and I think my depth will get deeper, especially because that's kind of how it goes over the course of life. When I first started squatting and prep for my last meet, I was pretty decently high, but as I got comfortable,
like I'm getting re-comfortable again now with the low bar squatting, it got better and better and better. One thing I think is funny, you know, PRing my low bar squat like this, you know, after even competing for so long and lifting for so long, just goes to show you that some of these coaches they're too specific. You can be very specific with your training. There's times and a place for that, but you don't need to be super specific all year long if you're competing in strength sports. I did SSB squats, then I did high bar squats, and now I'm doing low bar squats, and the strength carryover is there. So, you know, sometimes you're gonna take your prime mover and switch it up a little bit so you can get more out of it. All right, guys. Peace. See you next video.